Hello, Homestead. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for a moment of silence.
From Homestead Media, this is HHS In Depth.
Today is Friday, September 29th, and welcome to another episode of HHS In Depth. Let's begin with a quick overview of today's show. Taylor Ham kicks it off with a report on Red for Riley and the event that took place last Friday. You'll hear from Mara Nicholson on why there is a rivalry between Homestead and Carroll. Next comes Graham DeWitt with information on a student-run Wiffleball league. Later on, Matthias Arsmindy will fill you in on recycling around school and how you can help. Plus, Jaron Ellis reports on the next week of weather, and Emily Adams wraps up the show with a report on Homestead's athletics in Down to the Wire. All of that and more coming today on HHS In Depth. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. This is HHS In Depth, and I'm Morgan Gillette.
And I'm Grace Dickmeyer. And Morgan, we've had nothing but perfect weather for all of our football games so far this year.
Very true, Grace. So let's find out if that's the case for tonight's huge game at Carroll. Joining us now is Jaron Ellis to tell us what we can expect out there tonight weather-wise.
Well, Morgan, entering the 7th game of the season, it looks like it'll be another perfect night for football, with temps reaching the high 70s and partly cloudy skies at kickoff. As the night progresses, temperatures will decrease into the 50s, so make sure to bring a sweatshirt. I'll be back later on to tell you if October will bring cooler temps or these high temps will continue. Morgan, Grace, back to you.
Thanks for filling us in, Jaron. With the conditions outside tonight, I'm looking forward to the football game.
Definitely, Morgan. Jaron will be back later to give us another look into the weather.
HHS In Depth, national news.
And now, let's shift our focus to the nation's headlines. In recent national news, the Hollywood screenwriter strike has stopped many shows and movies from airing, and there is now a tentative deal to resolve it. The strike has been ongoing for 5 months now and has resulted in shows becoming canceled and stopped writing entirely. The WGA has announced that there will be no further comment at this time, and only that there had been a deal to help resolve the issue. In other national news, music sensation Taylor Swift was spotted with Travis Kelce's mom at the Kansas City Chiefs game last Sunday. The Chiefs won 41-10 to the Chicago Bears, and Swift appeared to be cheering him on, then left with him and the Kelces after the game. Fox Sports announced that over 24 million people tuned in to watch part of the game, making it the most watched TV show for the week.
Thank you, Grace, for the national news update. Let's switch gears to last Friday. Every year, a fundraiser takes place here at Homestead, one that helps to fight back against disease and medical issues that thousands of children face each year. In now is Taylor Ham with more details about the event that took place at last week's football game.
Red for Riley is a fundraiser you may recognize and perhaps even donated to. Here's a recap of what they accomplished last week at the football game and why this is such a great cause.
So Red for Riley is a football game, and we've raised money for the kids down at Riley. Everyone wears red. There's red buckets that get passed through the stands. It's just a really fun tradition that we've all kind of started here at Homestead, but also it helps the children who are fighting childhood cancer, chronic illnesses, and all that down at Riley, and it helps pay for the medical bills as well.
Last year, Red for Riley raised over $8,000 during the Miracle Minute, and this year they raised $11,000. The Riley Dance Marathon Committee is the one who organized this event every year and who worked directly with the Riley Children's Hospital in Indianapolis.
The money is, once we have it all collected at the end of the night, we put it in our little fund that we have, because at the end of the year, dance marathon that we'll have in December, we'll collect all that money we made there, and then we'll send it down to them about March, April-ish. Back my junior year, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness called multi-pressure syndrome. I'm able to stand on 2 feet now, walk a certain distance without passing out. or even just falling to the ground. But they have helped me tremendously by putting in brain stents and all that, so it's been really fun.
If you'd like to learn more about this event and how to contribute to the Riley Foundation, you can email Mrs. Carroll at the email address shown below for more information. Reporting for HHS In Depth, I'm Taylor Ham.
Thank you for the story, Taylor. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Going up the middle, he's got Kale Swagger for a touchdown.
Homestead, Carroll, Friday at 7 p.m. Only on The Point 91 FM.
Welcome back to HHS In Depth.
Welcome back. We talked about Taylor Swift earlier in the show. Now our school yearbook is calling for all Swifties. Did you happen to attend any show of the Eras Tour this summer? If so, the yearbook staff would love to hear about it and include your story and any photos you may have in this year's yearbook. Contact Miss Barrett for more information at the email address shown here.
Juniors and seniors, please see Mrs. Connerly in the 9th grade academy office to sign up for in-school college visits. There are a number of colleges visiting Homestead between now and the end of October.
Attention performers, the fall cabaret auditions are coming up soon. We bring you a brief message from Mr. Shaw about the change.
So this year we are kind of in between due to the new construction and renovation. We're in between our old auditorium and our new auditorium. The new auditorium isn't ready yet. The old auditorium has been stripped of all lights and sound. So we're doing our fall production in the gray box. Well, we can't do much with set in there because can't drill into the floor like we can on stage. So that's why we made the change this year. So you're going to audition with a portion of whatever piece you want to do, whether that's a solo, vocal solo, it can be an instrument. You can audition with a monologue or a scene from a play or musical. You can audition with a dance. I know we have some dancers out there who are interested in auditioning as well. If you've never done a fall show before, a fall play, just because it was limited to, a straight play, come out and audition for this. You can really showcase whatever talent it is that you have.
The fall cabaret auditions will be next week, October 4th and 5th. Make sure to swing by the new choir room and write your name on the audition list.
Many of us have memories of playing wiffle ball in our backyards when we were younger. But did you know that there is a student-run Wiffleball league that plays at Homestead every week? HHS In-Depth reporter Graham DeWitt is in now with more information about the league.
Behind me, you may notice that the Homestead practice football field looks a little different. Every Sunday for the past 6 weeks, the field has been used by the Homestead Wiffleball League, an intramural sports group that is new to the school this year.
Homestead Wiffleball League is basically an unofficial intramural sport that is at Homestead High School that we started this year. The idea originally began with me and a couple friends in Dr. Robinson's class, actually, and we just had a really big interest for wiffleball and thought it'd be really cool to expand it to Homestead as a whole.
Due to the amount of participating students, there was a lot of preparation to set up both the league and all of the teams.
I chose players who I thought would be best fit for our team and talked to Bryce, made sure everything was good and fit for the season, made sure everything was school appropriate and all that, and got it approved.
The process began towards the end of last school year where we made registrations for people to fill out. Then I contacted a couple people around the Fort Wayne area to help donate components such as the wall behind me and the strike zone and different parts that would help the game.
With the inaugural season coming to a close in a couple of weeks and Aiden set to be the league's next commissioner, the future of Homestead Wiffleball is looking bright.
My hopes once I graduate for this league is that it can just expand into a multi-school league where Homestead plays different schools around the area.
A couple other changes for next year. I would like to take away forfeits, make sure all teams get to the field, and make it more competitive and fun for everyone else.
Make sure to check out the Homestead Wiffleball Instagram page for more information about their upcoming postseason. Reporting for HHS In Depth, I'm Graham DeWitt.
Thank you for the report, Graham.
Morgan, is it just me, or have you ever wondered why Homestead has such an intense rivalry with Carroll?
I definitely have, especially this week as it's that time of year again where every seat in the Homestead hallways is covered up because the Carroll game is finally here. To help us prepare for the Homestead versus Carroll game tonight, reporter Mara Nicholson will tell you about the history of the rivalry between the two schools.
That's right. Underneath the Friday night lights lies Homestead and Carroll's rivalry, which has weaved a tale throughout decades. But as the years pass, this leads one to wonder how the competition got started and what the untold story is behind it.
You know, as an athlete back in the day, I don't necessarily remember anything specifically about the Homestead games. I don't think the matchup was the same as it is maybe now or is built up to be. When we both started participating in the NHC, Homestead was always our biggest competition. So I think that's where it really started to dial in.
In order to completely understand the history, we have to look all the way back to 1989, when Carroll and Homestead got invited to join the Northeast Hoosier Conference. A conference is a group of schools that creates a schedule to play against each other in sports. The NHC was comprised of East Noble, DeKalb, New Haven, Columbia City, Norwell, and Belmont. However, as Homestead and Carroll's student population grew, around 2014, the schools voted to remove Carroll and Homestead and replace them with Leo and Huntington North. This left the two schools independent for 2 more years. On the other side of town, 2 spots opened in the Summit Athletic Conference that would soon be filled by Homestead and Carroll in 2015. This conference is the one that we still play with to this day.
Well, there's been a lot of close game victories in a lot of sports. And unfortunately, a lot of those are missed by the general population of the students. Yeah, there's a rivalry there, but it does extend beyond the athletic field, and I would say it's very, very healthy as well.
The rivalry will continue simply because the schools are similar. You know, like I said, academically, socially, and, just the overall student body. And like I said, that rivalry will continue to grow in every sport we have.
As we prepare for the game tonight, it's important to remember the rich history behind the rivalry, which has affected many generations. Make sure to wear black tonight, as the theme is blackout, in order to completely dominate our competition. Reporting for HHS In Depth, I'm Mara Nicholson.
All right, thank you, Mara. As we head to break, be sure to keep an eye out for a club you may enjoy during the rundown of all the clubs meeting at Homestead over the next week.
Stick around, we'll be back shortly.
One of our teams is at state as we speak, and another team knocked off the #1 ranked team. I'll break it down this amazing week later on Down to the Wire.
Welcome back to HHS In Depth.
We're back on HHS In Depth. And Morgan, even though we're more than a week into fall, we haven't seen any weather that would be considered fall-like yet.
Now that we're hitting October this weekend, will we finally see the end of these summer-like forecasts? Weather reporter Jaron Ellis is in the studio and ready to fill you in on what we can expect this weekend and over the next week.
Thanks, Morgan and Grace. Tonight's game at Carroll will have a kickoff temperature of around 70 degrees with partly cloudy skies. As for this weekend, you can expect those summer-like conditions to stick around. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday are pretty interchangeable, with temperatures reaching 78 degrees on Saturday and a nice warm 80 degrees on Sunday. It's pretty ironic to see such high temperatures to start off October, but for fans of the heat, the trend continues going into next week. Temperatures will rise even more and hit 80 or more each day. Monday will get to 80, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will each top out at 81. And each of these days will bring slight chances of rain. Just an absolute perfect forecast as we get closer and closer to fall break. Next Thursday is predicted to be the last day to reach 80 degrees for this year. So I suggest taking advantage of the June-like temps while you can. Morgan, Grace, back to you.
I know that I'm glad the weather is still looking nice outside, at least for another week. Thank you for the weather report, Jaron.
Let's switch gears back to Homestead now. And recently, one of our student reporters looked into our school's current recycling status and how a school with 2,500 students goes about recycling.
And now is HHS In-Depth reporter Matthias Arizmendi with the story on how students and staff can become more environmentally aware and help with recycling while at school each day.
If you attended Homestead last year, you might recall seeing blue recycling bins along the edges of the cafeteria. Yet, if you look around now, they're gone. So the question is, does Homestead still recycle?
Yes, Homestead does recycle. in multiple ways. They recycle not only cardboard, but paper, plastics, and the blue containers that you see throughout your school. And also, we are working very closely with Hagerman. Obviously, Homestead High School is under construction for the past 2.5 years, and it will be again for the next 2 years. We are constructing not only just paper or plastics, but we're also materials, building materials such as steel, concrete block, lockers we're taking out. All the scrap metal that is coming from the project is being put in a specific dumpster, as well as furniture.
If money's not the problem, then what's the reason these recycling bins were taken away? Well, the bins you see around the school are actually run by the Environmental Club, and as of now, there's not enough manpower to help manage all of it. So what can students do to help?
Just pay attention. Not everything needs to go into the trash. If it has a little triangle, obviously, at the bottom with the number, that they can go into the blue containers, and just really try to eliminate waste.
If you'd like to get involved, a good place to start would be the Environmental Club. Their next meeting is going to be October 9th. Reporting for HHS In Depth, I'm Matthias Arzmendi.
All right, thank you, Matthias. And now it is time for another edition of Down to the Wire. This week, Emily Adams is in to give a recap on how our Spartan sports team did over the past week, including an instant classic on the football field last Friday.
Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm Emily Adams. Our Spartans were back in action with a week for the ages from all of our fall sports teams. To start off, girls golf represented us well this week at regionals in Kendallville, becoming the regional champions. Last Friday, they won with a total team score of 290, beating the competition by a comfortable 23-stroke lead. Our very own Scarlett Sank was the individual champion, wowing the team by shooting an incredible 68 strokes. Following her lead, Cassie Ayers shot a close 70, Eliza Saul with a 71, Bree Knoll with 81, and Dominica Cassini closed the team out with an 88. They'll head down to Carmel today and tomorrow for the state finals. Make sure to wish the ladies luck this weekend. Moving on, our girls volleyball team continued the trend of winning in a dominating fashion. At the girls' senior night game against Northrop this past Tuesday, they swept the Bruins 3-0 with a crowd-pleasing score of 25-4, 25-6, and 25-13. With 16 assists, Kate Jackway led her team to glory. Following her up, Madeline Sipe got 14 digs, Addie Tyndall with 6 kills, and Hannah Brown and Taylor Mailer with 2 aces. Mailer also got an additional 4 blocks. The girls will travel to Woodland on October 3rd. Nice job, ladies. Last week marked the annual Redford Riley game at the football stadium, and what a game it was. Homestead beat the 5A number 1 ranked and undefeated Snyder Panthers 23-20 in a classic overtime game. The Spartans were down 14-0 early, but chipped away the rest of the game, and by the end of the fourth quarter, they forced overtime. In overtime, Snyder was up first and was only able to get a field goal, making the score 20-17. But when Homestead got the ball, they gave it to star senior Brett Fox, who ran it up the middle for 5 yards and a walk-off touchdown, ending the night with a spectacular 23-20 victory. Overall, Fox had 27 rush attempts for the 167 yards and the winning touchdown. Kale Swagger had 5 receptions, 96 yards, and 1 touchdown. Finally, Michael White went 10 for 17 on the night with 131 passing yards and 1 touchdown. The boys will compete tonight at Carroll for Rivals Week. Make sure to head out there to the Charger Stadium and fill up that student section. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. and the theme is Blackout. And due to the storms and rain earlier this week, the boys' tennis sectionals were postponed a few days. But now that weather has cleared up, and the Spartans will resume their quest for their 10th straight sectional title later today. Get out to the tennis courts today at 4 p.m. to see our Spartans take on Canterbury. Great work this week, Spartan athletes. Make sure to make it out to the football game tonight against the Carroll Chargers. Go get them, Spartans. That'll do it for this week's edition of Down to the Wire. Thanks for watching today. Morgan, Grace, back to you.
Thank you, Emily, for the update on our fall sports teams. This has been HHS In Depth. Make sure to check our socials for updates on the HHS ID team and our upcoming projects.
Don't forget to go out and enjoy the football game at Carroll tonight.
Have a great week in Homestead, and we'll see you back here again next week.